Mining is the extraction or the exploitation of any economically viable mineral, and generally you could extend it to mean the extraction of any non-renewable natural resource like petroleum, salt, gas, natural gas. In Ghana, mining is divided into small-scale mining and large-scale mining. But for us in the agency, what we term as small-scale mining is mining which is undertaken on a concession size of 25 acres or less, and for which an environmental permit or other requisite permits have been obtained. In Ghana, we have the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and its institution, the Minerals Commission, which are primarily responsible for issuing the licenses for the small-scale miners. Then we have the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation and the EPA, which are also required to issue the permits. And then we have the Water Resources Commission. So these are the key institutions governing the subsector. There are several laws and regulations which govern the subsector. And I'll start with the Environmental Protection Agency Act of 1994, the Act 490, and its associated regulation, the Environmental Assessment Regulations of 1999, LI 1652. And then we have the Minerals and the Mining Act, Act 703, that's from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And then we have the amendments in 2005 and 2010 of that same act, the Minerals and Mining Act. And then we have the 6 associated regulations of the same ministry which govern the small-scale subsector. We have from the Water Resources Agency Act, we have water use regulations, and we have the Mercury Act of 1989, which is the Mercury Act which governs this sector, and it's very critical, especially when we have signed on to the Minamata Convention. We have other related fiscal regimes which govern the subsector. So we have the Bank of Ghana, we have the Ministry of Finance, and then we have the Ghana Revenue Authority. In addition, we have the Ghana Standards for Environment and Health Protection, and of particular reference or particular interest to the sector, we have the ones which relate to effluent discharge, to air quality, and to noise control. The key mandate of the agency's mining department is to promote and facilitate best practice in environmental management throughout Ghana's mining industry, of which the small-scale mining subsector falls. And so with respect to that, the primary mandate of the mining department of the Environmental Protection Agency is to promote and facilitate the application of best practice in environmental management throughout Ghana's mining industry, of which the small-scale mining is a subsector. And in respect to that, the key thing we do is to issue permits for small-scale mining operations. We also issue enforcement notices, directives, and warnings in the form of letters. To advise the minister, we formulate policies which go to improve the governance of the sector. We conduct investigations into complaints that the agency receives relating to the subsector. We embark on sensitization or environmental education to all our relevant stakeholders, including the stakeholder communities. We undertake monitoring to be able to measure any changes to the environment which has resulted from the small-scale mining operations. And we ensure compliance with the environmental assessment regulations and also with the permit conditions which are stipulated as part of the permits which are issued to the mining operators, and especially with respect to effluent discharge, rehabilitation and reclamation. We collaborate with relevant stakeholder institutions in the effective management of the system, as well as provide technical assistance to our clients who are the small-scale mining operators. Small-scale mining is the sole preserve of Ghanaians. And so any Ghanaian who is 18 years and above and of a sound mind can engage in it. So small-scale mining does not allow for the participation of foreigners in this. If you want to go into small-scale mining and you are a Ghanaian 18 years and over, you acquire the relevant approvals necessary for working in the subsector. Would need to obtain the relevant permits from the various stakeholder institutions initially identified. So you start off with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and obtain a mining license which is valid for 5 years for precious minerals, which includes gold and diamonds, or a restricted mining lease which is valid for 2 years for small-scale mining for the development minerals like sand, gravel, kaolin, and the like. Having obtained an environmental permit, a small-scale operator would need to go to the Water Resources Commission for a water use permit and then proceed to the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission for an operating permit, which they commonly refer to as the digging permit. The legal requirements also require that you operate within the conditions which are stipulated within the various licenses and permits. And you also initiate the process of renewal prior to the expiry of the permit. The process for obtaining an environmental permit is a rather simplified one. Having obtained your mining license for precious minerals or a restricted mining lease for development minerals, a small-scale mining operator would need to proceed to the Environmental Protection Agency, where you would obtain a form, a small-scale mining form, Form SMMI1, and fill it out. You complete it and you add a copy of the mining license or the restricted mining lease. You include other attachments such as the brief description of your operational methods, which includes the description in brief of how you intend to mine and or process the particular mineral of interest. And then you include a costed reclamation and abandonment proposal, which outlines in brief the activities and the cost elements needed to undertake rehabilitation to return the land to pre-mining or an agreed post-mining end use. The complete application would need to be submitted at the agency's regional or area offices, which are spread across the length and breadth of the country. Having received the complete application, the regional or area officers would review the application and then they would arrange for a site inspection to be undertaken, which is commonly referred to as a screening. Received the necessary documentation, the area officers would need to proceed to the field and complete the screening of the undertaking and submit a report and then make the initial recommendation, which is either an approval for the decline of a permit or for the submission of other documentation. The necessary fees would need to be issued, and having paid those fees, the complete application dossier would need to be forwarded to the head office. Having received the completed application dossier from the agency's regional or area officers, the mining department at the head office makes a comprehensive review of the entire application and makes a final determination as to whether a permit should be issued, declined, or additional information requested for. Where a determination is for the issue of an environmental permit, a permit is issued with its accompanying schedule, which lists all the conditions of that permit. A point to note, an environmental permit is issued for 2 years. So it is not valid for a lifetime of the mine. It is valid for a period of 2 years. Clients are encouraged to initiate the renewal 3 months prior to the expiry of the permit. Obtaining an environmental permit is the first step towards ensuring that you operate sustainably, which will ensure that your livelihood is safeguarded not just for you but for future generations. The primary reason why you need to obtain an environmental permit is that it is a legal requirement, which is stipulated by the Act 490 and the LI 1652. So one cannot engage in small-scale mining without having obtained an environmental permit. Obtaining an environmental permit gives you legal protection for your property. It also helps you to distinguish your activities from that of illegal operators, commonly referred to as galamsey operators. Of particular interest to small-scale mining operators is that obtaining an environmental permit gives you access to technical assistance, and you get guidance on the agency on how to use resources efficiently, thereby making cost savings to the operator. Small-scale mining is not synonymous with galamsey, and in a bid to improve the image of the legal small-scale mining industry, the agency, in consultation with the relevant stakeholders, including the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, is considering the posting of reclamation bonds as stipulated by Regulation 23 of our LI 1652. In a bid to improve its compliance monitoring, the agency is engaged in the application of technology in ensuring real-time compliance monitoring of small-scale mining operations. So it is employing the use of drones, satellite imagery, and GIS to this end. EPA permit is non-transferable. This is because liability cannot be transferred from one small-scale mining operator to another. The EPA permit is site-specific, and so the same operator cannot use a permit issued at one particular location to work at another location. The permit is valid for a period of 2 years, and clients are encouraged to initiate the renewal 3 months prior to the expiry of the permit. Finally, the agency reserves the right to suspend, to cancel or revoke a permit which has been issued if a client fails to comply with the stipulated conditions of the permit. The small-scale subsector is an important contributor to Ghana's economy, for which reason the Environmental Protection Agency is encouraging all prospective miners who are interested to go through the legal processes of acquiring the necessary approvals and permissions to operate within the subsector and operate within the stipulations of those permits and licenses to ensure that the mining is undertaken in a sustainable fashion. The agency has 18 regional offices and 12 area offices spread across the length and breadth of this country. All prospective miners are encouraged to visit any of our area and regional offices for any technical advice. Thank you.